What's up everyone, we got some squats today and back to pretty frequent training. I don't really have the nagging sort of muscle soreness or whatever you want to call it. It's pretty much subsided and almost back to normal in terms of training. So basically here we got my warm-ups, and the plan for the day was to work up to a triple on squats, and then I threw in a single after that. And then from there I moved on to deadlifts. And then for deadlifts the plan was basically speed work. So what I actually wanted to do at the end of this video, and we're going to get into that in a minute, is I just wanted to address some points with regards to the deadlift, and mostly revolving around grip and just your back neutrality, your spine neutrality when doing the movement. So we'll get into that in a minute. But for now, here we got the squats warm-up. This is 315. And it moved pretty well. Warmed up with threes, and here we got 405. This is just before the top set, so this 405 is for 3. I'm really pleased with my bar path and how things have been moving. I find that it's not swaying around too much. My back is basically maintaining its position, and I'm staying relatively upright, so I'm not really exerting myself too much when actually performing the movement. Everything's going pretty smoothly, and that's just because of that steady bar path. So here you're going to see it as well. I kind of swayed a little bit back, but then I was able to actually perform the lift without an issue. But what sometimes happens with that is if the bar gets if it travels too far, let's say, usually I aim to have the bar at the midpoint of my foot when I actually go down into the squat. If it travels too far when you come up out of the hole and your ass rises first or your hips rise first, then basically that bar is going to like drive you down. So you need to maintain that upright position, as you can see right there. I'm trying to do my back offset here of 365.
What's up everyone? I'm going to show you a couple different grip variations for the deadlift. A few people have asked me about my grip on Instagram and on YouTube, and actually in person as well, just asking like what the difference is when doing different grip placements. So I'm going to quickly show you right now a couple different variations you can do with your grip and what exactly they mean for your deadlift, so what impact they're going to have. So first we're going to start out with just a standard mixed grip, and what that means is I'm actually going to go one hand under the bar and one hand over, or another way to put that, one hand pronated and one hand supinated, which essentially means palm up, palm down. So I'm going to start and show you, basically you can pull like that. You can switch either way, and it really comes down to personal preference. I'd say give it a shot and see what works for you best. If you're right-handed or left-handed, that may play a factor as well, but honestly the best way for you to find out is just to go grab a bar and see what feels comfortable for you, what feels stronger. Personally, I like to use my left hand in a pronated position and my right hand in a supinated position, and I am right-handed, so that's maybe why I do it, but I actually tend to switch back and forth sometimes. I think I'm stronger in this position as opposed to this position, but you know, I'm just going to show you some pulls right now, just giving you some variations. So let's start by going up to the bar. Again, one hand pronated, the other hand supinated. You want to release the tension, the slack, straighten your back, neutral spine, pull. And then you can actually switch. Same thing, straighten the back, pull. So that's a mixed grip position. Now I actually want to show you a double overhand position, and I'm going to show you a variation on that as well. So first let me show you the double overhand. Line up to the bar, same thing. Both supinated grips. Sorry, pronated grips. Line up to the bar, straighten your back, retract the lats, and pull. So a variation on that with a double overhand grip is actually called a hook grip. So what you're going to do here is hook your thumb under the bar and then cover your thumb with your other fingers. So I'm going to show you that really quick on this hand. You see my thumb under the bar, and then I cover it with the fingers, and I'm going to do the same on both sides. This is actually a popular grip for some people, and what it actually does is help you with grip strength when you're getting up into the heavier weights, because what you're actually doing is locking it into place using your thumb. Now a lot of people will complain it feels like their thumb's going to rip off and things like that. Again, it really depends on your finger lengths and just what your personal preference is. So I recommend giving hook grip a try. Hook grip is actually very popular for Olympic lifting. because they actually have to rotate the bar up, and it makes it a lot easier to do that. So powerlifting, not so popular, but let's do it right now. This is a hook grip. Line up to the bar. So my focus for today is actually on speed. Basically, I want to be able to pull 5 rep sets, and I want to do them really quick, explosive off the ground. I'm almost imagining as a visualization that I am trying to clean the bar up to myself and through the ceiling. So I like to give that cue to anyone that anyone that I'm working out with. I wouldn't say that I train, because I'm not a trainer, but I work out with a lot of people. And you know, a lot of people that are actually new to fitness and whatnot, and they'll ask me for like cues and different things that they can use, and I find that one to be perfect. So imagine you're ripping the bar off the ground, cleaning it up to your chest, and blasting it right through the ceiling. So let's get right to it. 5 rep set, 225, and we're going to work up from there. I actually just realized I told you that that was a 5 rep set, but it was actually just a 3 rep set. I'm going to work up to a 5 rep set. I'm actually going to do that right now, and then on my next set, which is 405, I'll be doing another 5 rep set as well. So basically, when I warm up with deadlifts, I just go plate, 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 up until I get to my top sets. Sometimes I won't even bother with 135. Now when I first started training, that wasn't the case. Like I needed the reality check actually when I first started, because I went into the gym and I couldn't do plate, 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 plate. You know, I saw a bunch of other guys doing it that were, you know, experienced powerlifters, but I wasn't quite there yet. So I pretty much had to break it down into smaller increments in terms of going up in weight. So let's get right to this 315, and then we'll get back to the top sets. Something really interesting you're going to notice in that last set, and I actually just watched the footage back myself. So on some of the reps there, I had a rounded upper back, and my head position was almost looking down and forward a little bit. So this is actually a common question as well that I see a lot on YouTube, and I just see, you know, a lot online in general. Should you be pulling with a rounded upper back, or should you be pulling with a straight back, basically? Now, I'm not saying rounded lower back. Let's be very clear about that. Your lower back should never be rounded. Upper back rounding occurs when you don't take that initial few seconds to set yourself up at the starting position. So where you don't actually set back, neutralize your spine before the pull. Now, the benefits of having the upper rounding in your back, especially if you're doing rep work, is that you can move the bar off the ground a little bit quicker. Just a little bit. Now, there's a downside, however, which is basically once you get the bar up to a certain point, usually it's past your knees, the lockout becomes a lot harder. And what I mean by that is you can get the bar up, it'll travel up to your knees, and then all of a sudden, it's much harder for you to push your hips through and lock out the actual lift. The reason being is because you're going from a rounded position to an externally rotated position by pushing your hips through. So it kind of, there's pros and cons to lifting in that style. Personally, I don't think there's longevity with the upper back rounding, and in terms of my lift, it's something I've tried very hard to get away from. So basically decondition myself from doing that form. So now I'm mostly focused on trying to maintain the neutral spine. The downside of that, of course, is the bar is going to move off the ground a little bit slower, but I maintain neutrality throughout the lift, so it's more of a fluidity going through the movement as opposed to having any sort of sticking points. Basically, if you can't get the bar off the ground with a neutral spine, you know that you're having a mechanical breakdown, you're having a form breakdown in some way, or the weight's too heavy. So you should always try to maintain that neutral back position when pulling a deadlift, and really that's just my opinion on it. It's not to say you can't do it the other way, I just think it's not a long-term solution. You're not going to work up to a crazy amount of weight with a rounded upper back. You may be able to clear it off the ground, but you can't lock it out. And in competition, that really makes no difference, you know. you're not talking about gym PRs here where you can hinge and, you know, wiggle and waggle to get the lift. We're talking competition style. It needs to be clean, bar up, doesn't travel down, and that's really what we're going for here. That's what I'm going for. So I'm going to get into this 405 here, and I'm going to maintain the cue of a neutral spine and try to avoid the upper back rounding. So let's get right to it.
So I actually think this went pretty well when I watched it back later. I maintained a pretty neutral spine position. There are some minor areas for improvement, but I think that could have just been sort of a mechanical issue and just general tightness that was preventing me from getting a little bit into a better position. But all in all, I think this was great. I think this was a great example of what I was talking about. So thanks for watching as always, and I will catch you again in the next